Hey, I'm Patrick Harner. I just completed a couple weeks back the Spartan Killington up in Vermont, the Beast. And I just wanted to share a few reflections about that. If you're thinking about doing one of these, maybe you'll find something helpful for you, maybe in your preparation or even the race execution itself. First off, I'm not a big medal guy, but I finally decided to hang up medals. And so this is what the medal looks like from the Beast race. This pretty cool lanyard. And here's the shoes I did them in. These are the Innovate Mud Claws. This is one of the older models. I actually got these in 2019. I don't know if you can see it real well. My gosh, these have been great shoes. They've been through the ringer. I've got some holes now in them. Let's see. I can't see that very well. I'll stick my finger through here. These holes just popped up from this race. Yeah, there's another little hole right here. But I'm just trying to show you the tread and how these have. This stud right here, it's hard to see, but it's finally starting to really wear down. It finally tore off a little bit. But yeah, these Innovate Mudclaw shoes have been fantastic. I've been using them since 2019. These have been through a few ultra races, a bunch of beasts, and they've held up really well. It was worth every penny. My only complaint about these, I know a lot of guys online complain about the drainage on a lot of the Innovate shoes. I'm not bothered by that at all. I think they're just fine. They are, for my feet, a teeny eensy-weensy bit narrow, but not too narrow. I can totally manage them. The width of these, I'd like them to be just a few millimeters even, just wider. But other than that, that's my only complaint. But I haven't had any foot issues or problems. I like these because they're a zero-drop shoe. They're still fairly flexible. Innovate used to make a shoe called, I can't remember if it was the Mud Glove or the Bear. Maybe it was the Bear Claw. I think it was the Bear Claw or the Mud Claw. No, these are Mud Claws. But they were, really, really flexible. Those had a little bit of a drainage issue. But yeah, these are a little stiffer, but not too bad at all. But the traction you get from these when it comes to rope climbing, going through muddy terrain, or even up just through kind of wet grass, these things I can't imagine racing in something else through difficult terrain. These are absolutely fantastic. So I did that, did the Beast in these. But let me get into some of the specifics about the race. The race, I think, ended up being close to 14 and a half miles. And I think we ended up seeing something like 35 or 37 obstacles. And I specifically wanted to talk about my goals for the race and my preparation and then my execution for those goals. Now, this race, I did it with a friend of mine, a lifelong friend, Matt, and then my sister, Jennifer. This is my sister's only second obstacle course race ever. She is getting ready to turn 50. No, sorry, 49. Don't tell her I said that. She's getting ready to turn 49. And we attempted the Vermont Ultra back in 2019. We DNF'd. We finished one lap. And so that was my sister's first obstacle course race. Now we did the Beast. And then my buddy Matt is a seasoned obstacle course racer. But Matt just, he wants to finish these races, which is awesome. So I took this as an opportunity to continue to build my friendship with Matt and my relationship with my sister. And so we just planned a day of it. We planned to be out there for about 10 hours. We wanted to finish in under 10 hours, which I know is very slow. But we had different goals. We weren't competing against other people. For myself, I'm really competing against myself and not for time. I wanted to come out of this race. I wanted to be injury-free, of course. I wanted to complete the race. Check, did both of those. And I also wanted to feel fairly normal after the race. I didn't want to feel sore. I wanted to go out there, and even though we were mostly just hiking, trekking, I didn't want to feel like a truck had run over me, kind of like how I felt at the ultra attempt in 2019. I mean, Matt, Jen, I could hardly walk the next day. So with that, I felt minimal soreness. No soreness in my upper body whatsoever. No soreness in my quads, hamstrings, glutes, hip flexors. All those were fantastic. I really prepared well for those. But it was my calves. That's what was sore. And my calves were probably sore for 3 days. Very, very sore, very intense. Probably the most intense soreness I've ever felt in my calves. But I think I prepared really everything else really well with the exception of my calves. And then the other goal I had is I wanted to do 100% obstacle completion, and I was able to do that. And not only complete the obstacles, but I wanted to feel comfortable and relaxed completing the obstacles. I didn't want to feel like I was really tensing up, straining, feeling tired and fatigued. And then so check, I completed all my obstacles and felt fairly relaxed, with one minor exception, which I'll share later. And then my last goal is I've had an issue with cramping, which is definitely some conditioning issues with that, but mostly hydration, nutrition. For these longer races, my hydration and nutrition has been terrible leading up to the race, and especially during the race. And so that was really locked in as well. So let me talk to you a little bit about my preparation. I really changed things up. I hate admitting this, but I have done way too little cardiovascular training for these longer races. And so I finally upped my game. I started with, I would do 3 days of strength training. And this is pretty much my program for the last year, obviously tweaking and adjusting it as I go along. But pretty much 3 days of strength training, 3 days of cardiovascular training. But then I progressed that to doing 6 days of cardiovascular training mixed in with the strength training. 2 of those days of strength training would just be more traditional stuff. One day, maybe I shouldn't say traditional, that's not the right word. One day was very much injury prevention focused, feet and ankles, spending time strengthening those, and then spending a lot of time with my shoulder blades and shoulders. Then another day was just regular strength training. I don't want to say traditional, but I'd use a combination of machines, body weight exercises, dumbbells, pulleys, that kind of thing. And then one day my strength training was obstacle specific. So for the past year, very obstacle specific, doing the obstacles. And then as I went along, I gradually increased my volume of my grip related exercises and then obstacles, of course, until towards the end I was having really 3 hardcore days of grip focused things, very I don't want to say compact, but really not spacing out my obstacle specific exercises and really smushing a lot of my upper body grip based obstacles together to really condition my upper body, especially my grip. And I also, a lot of the grip I was doing, it's taken me forever to figure this out. Instead of gripping everything like this, I finally started using a rope, whether I'm doing rows, pull-ups, whatever, using a rope. So I'm really grabbing onto it, getting that thumb involved, and actually working on my technique. So not just grabbing the rope here, but really kind of tucking the rope into the fingers, bringing it into my palm, and then wrapping that thumb on top. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll do that again. So again, if this is the rope, kind of pinching with my fingers here, bringing it to my palm, and then clasping my thumb on top. So gripping the rope like that, and then doing a lot of grip-based exercises like that. And again, my hands, I didn't wear gloves in this race at all. My skin was really well prepared. I had 0 tearing issues in my hands at all. That's probably a first. I've had minor little nicks and things like that, or get a little skin tear here and there. 0. My hands, my skin felt awesome. My forearms were well prepared. Now for the cardiovascular training, I mentioned I was doing 3 days of that as well starting out. One day I would do interval training. So I did a lot of, I shouldn't say intervals. I would do 400 repeats. So I'd actually do a 400 and then rest. I would do some variations, some longer, some a little shorter, but where I'm actually really picking my pace up, running hard. And I might do anywhere from 4 to 8 of those. Again, a lot of variation as I went along. And then one day where I'm doing something that's longer than a 400, way shorter than a long, slow run, but where I'm running fairly hard. And I would do anywhere from 3 to 7, 8 miles where I'm really running hard at that. But what I started doing kind of early on is I would actually turn it into interval training where I would actually run fairly hard for 8 minutes. So I'm going beyond a mile, and then I would walk aggressively, power walk or power hike for 2 minutes. And then I might repeat that anywhere from 3 to 8 times or even more. And that would be my other day. I usually do that on Thursdays, Tuesdays or Thursdays. And then my last day was a long and slow day. And that started around at the beginning of the year when I started training, 45 minutes to an hour. And then I finally progressed to where I was going 3 hours plus on that day, depending on how much of availability I had. But then those 3 days, as I was building up to my beast, turned into 6 days. So I would stick with those same 3 days, but I actually started, instead of the 400 repeats, I started incorporating other types of training where I was getting off of my feet. So I started swimming more, biking a lot more, and even using some of the cardio machines, whether it be like a stepper or even an arc trainer. I love Cybex's arc trainer. It's fantastic. Hard on the muscles, easy on the joints. I might do a whole talk about that. But I finally progressed my volume, so increasing my overall volume, my mileage, to where I'm doing 6 days a week. So 3 of those days, pretty normal to what I was doing before. But then on my days I was doing my strength training, I would just tack on anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour of just movement. I didn't get real fancy or anything, sort of a moderate to high moderate effort. I'm trying to keep my heart rate somewhere between 130, 150, maybe 160 at the very, very tip top. But I would usually try to keep it below 150, again, somewhere between 130 and 150. And I tacked 3 more days on of training like that. Oh, and I also added in bicycle riding. I bought a bike, pretty cool bike I just bought off Amazon. And I incorporated a little bike riding, and those would be longer days where I'd actually ride my bike into work and back. That ended up being about 20 miles, 10 miles in, 10 miles back. Again, I'm not riding super hard, but I was getting some hill work in and a little bit of coasting as well. Obviously, I could share a ton more details about my training. If you want to, in the comments below, have any questions about more specifics of my training, I'll try to answer those questions. But I was super prepared, quads, hamstrings, almost no cramping during the race. I had one minor little eek on the Tyrolean Traverse. That my hamstring, it's more of the medial aspect of the hamstrings. So that would be like semitendinosus, semimembranosus. Just a little bit. I got just a little bit of a tweak. Wasn't bad. I was able to just, instead of hooking with my heel, which I prefer, I was able to just hook my whole leg and kind of put it in the crook of my knee pit, if you want to call it that. And was able to hook that and didn't have any issues the rest of the race. I don't think I recall any other cramping, and my calves didn't cramp or anything as well. So overall, great experience. Obstacles went fantastic. Like I said, I was very calm, relaxed, looking up the obstacles, even though I've seen them a bunch of times before. Thinking through the obstacles, kind of visualizing myself doing the obstacles just helped me be so much more prepared and relaxed as I approach them. I will say, I think I've gotten a little lazy on my rope climbing, and although I got the rope, no problem, it's just in years past, my rope climb was just so much more, more compact, more efficient, and I think my rope climbing was a little lazy. I think part of that is my weight. This is the heaviest I've ever been going into a race. I think I went into this race somewhere between 182 and 185 pounds. I'm starting to come down again. I'd like to try to get back down to like 165 or even 160. But yeah, I've just put on a lot of muscle. Part of that is my strength training a while back. For some reason, I get so worried about the tire flip. And so I was doing a lot of like deadlifts and things to really prepare for that tire flip. I've gotten the tire flip. Now, I take that back. I think one time I had help. My friend Matt, I think we helped each other on it. But I've struggled with it, and so I've always like, I got to prepare for that. So I've done a ton of deadlifts, and I haven't had any issue with the tire flipping in the past, 2 or 3 races where the tire flip has been there. But I was focused almost too much on super heavy lifting, and I put a ton of muscle on very quickly. And I think I shot up from like 172 to end up getting up to 185 over the course of several months. And so for the next season of obstacle course racing coming ahead, I think I'm going to try to bring that back down, because especially on the rope climb, I think that has had a huge impact. It didn't seem to impact me as much on the other obstacles. I was really able to get my strength up to match my body weight and to manage that, and so that was fine. So there's a ton more I could talk about. I'm already at 15 minutes, so I need to shut this thing down. So again, if you have any questions, comments, please put them in the comments section below. And I'd love to share any of those thoughts. Hopefully some of this was helpful to you. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.